past the hour. Let me go straight to our discussion tonight. Of course, this comes in the light of President Uhuru Kenyatta's appointment of Fred Matiang'i as the chair of the National Development, Implementation and Communication Cabinet Committee. Quite a mouthful there. Now in studio, once again, I have Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. Wakili, good evening. Welcome to the program. First of all, let me begin with this. When a president issues, an executive order, what does this mean? Let's begin from there first.
I mean, so it's an order, as you call it. It's a directive of the head of state to direct how he wishes a certain thing to be done. In most cases, how government operations shall be coordinated.
Many Kenyans out there asking, when does or when should a president issue such an executive order? And how can Kenyans, see it? How can they look at it? Is it meant to, bring about some sort of sanity when the government is perhaps not in good shape?
Well, this is quite a debate indeed, but the point is where the president feels that either there is a gray area where he wants the coordination to be done by a specific department or person, I think he gives the order. But it's not something he just wakes up and decides, I want to issue an order. The Constitution of Kenya, when you check at the Article 132, B, 3B, gives the president powers to organize the cabinet and the functions of the government in general. So it is in a way brought, so that it can actually direct the operations of the government.
Let's talk about this specific Executive Order number 1, 2019 that was issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday. Are you saying that Kenyans are reading a bit too much into it?
Absolutely. My feeling since yesterday has been that actually people are reading too much. You've seen Kipchumba Murkomen, congratulating the president for the appointment of, Matiang'i, and then again he blesses the deputy president. I think people are reading too much politics into the whole thing.
Yes.
It is true, it will have an effect on how people perceive and view the deputy president. But look, the deputy president is part of the presidency, and Matiang'i has been appointed to report to the president. But remember, if the president is for some reason incapable to perform his function or is away, that reporting would actually be done to the deputy president himself. So I think people are really reading too much in a simple act of the president trying to effectively organize his government.
Wakili, we're going to talk about the deputy president shortly, but let me just bring this out. Speaking about the Constitution, of course, you've talked about it earlier, that all CSs are accountable to the president. But this specific executive order, brings out a different picture where one CS seems to be a super cabinet secretary, a CS that is supposed to supervise the rest. I mean, what will this portend as far as, matters protocol is concerned in the cabinet?
Look at this. Remember, in the year 2018 and in 2014, the president formed a PDU, Presidential Delivery Unit, which is supposed to have actually assisted the president to coordinate the functioning of the government programs and projects. It appears to me that by 2019, this unit has not performed properly the way the president hoped it would. Therefore, for him to come up and look around his cabinet and he sees one cabinet, secretary who is quite a performer, I think we shouldn't read too much into it. He decides, look here, the interior minister cannot on his own actually make sure that he has coordinated these ministries properly unless he cooperates with all other ministers. So just putting him as a supervisor, or rather a person who would coordinate, does not mean, like many people are saying, he's a prefect or a head boy or whatever. No, he is going to cooperate with the other ministers. And the president has looked around and seen that it is the interior minister who is actually more able and amiably going to deal with the rest of the ministers. So I think it's really about the president trying to create his legacy and making sure that his projects are properly
we appreciate that, but the executive order was very clear that the CS, that is Fred Matiang'i, is going to report directly to the president, and some political observers out there, rightly so, are saying that, this is an executive order that might undermine the powers of the deputy president.
No. Look at today's statement. Again, you saw him speaking on TV. There are cartels around the State House, around the presidency, which the president himself is desperately trying to completely demolish. And he is not demolishing them because probably these cartels are again having a, link network to other, technocrats within the government. And the only man he has seen who can actually do, the person who can do this is actually the interior minister, yes.
Mm-hmm. Once again, the Constitution does not give us some sort of, clear role of the Deputy President. Now, with the new executive order, where will this leave the DP?
I don't know why you say that. The Constitution says the Deputy President is the principal assistant of the head of state. I think that is quite clear. So what then the President wants to do where he needs assistance, he would go back to the Deputy President. But the President in his last term cannot be choked or prevented from actually coordinating their functions by appointing a minister or two to do that.
In a nutshell, Wakili, your messages, we should not read too much into this executive order. Many thanks for your input. That is Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo there telling us more about the executive order that was issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta, matter that has elicited a lot of reaction, especially among the political class. Now, family, friends and colleagues of 6 Kenyans who lost their lives in the 15th January 14 Riverside drive attack, all who are employees at the Dusit D2 Hotel, today gathered at the Consolata Shrine in Westlands for a requiem mass for the departed. The 6 who are part of the 21 who unfortunately lost their lives in the attack were eulogized both locally here in Kenya and in Bangkok, Thailand, the home of the Dusit International Hotel, as heroes and heroines who showed bravery even in the midst of a calamity. Our reporter Grace Kuria tells us more.
In our hearts you will forever remain. That was the message in unison from mourners who gathered at the Consolata Shrine for fond memories of the Sikhs who are now known as the 6 Dusit D2 Hotel heroes, unending questions lingering in the minds of their colleagues.
Why my hotel? Why my staff? Why my family? Why?
The deceased, Beatrice Mutua, Benedict Konjalo, Trufosa Nyaboke, Erickson Mogaka, Dedrix Lemisi, and Zachary Nyambwaga were all employees at the hotel.
To me, Beatrice was more than just a colleague. She was a mentor, a friend, and a confidant, and most importantly, a big sister that God blessed me with.
She was tough, but focused on delivery of work.
She initiated good working relationship, built trust on us, and the title Madam was rarely used in the department. We referred to her as Turu, Mama Aizo.
I met Erickson 3 years ago. He was a young, hardworking individual, selfless and with full of love.
They saved a lot of lives, and I really want to say thank you, and we'll always remember them.
The national government, through the Ministry of Tourism, promised to be part of the entire Dusit Hotel fraternity, especially when they will be reopening the hotel to resume operations. 3 of the hotel's employees are still recuperating in hospital. And meanwhile, in Bangkok, Thailand, the home of the Dusit International Hotel, employees, friends and staff held a similar event in memory of the Sikhs.
These are our Dusit heroes, and we are honored that they were part of our Dusit family. That we lost them in such tragic circumstances is heartbreaking. Unfortunately, the sad realities of today is that there are those who will stop at nothing to bring chaos to our world.
And in Taita Taveta County, preparations for the burial of the GSU officer killed in the attack, Japhet Ndunguja, are ongoing.
Gone but not forgotten. That is the message from the loved ones of the 6 Dusit D2 Hotel heroes. This even as members of the public are urged not to withhold whatever information they may have that could aid in the investigations. Grace Kuria, KTN News at the Consolata Shrine, Nairobi.
Well, thank you, Grace, for that. Still on the Dusit attack, 7 more suspects allegedly linked to the attack on Dusit D2 Hotel in Nairobi last week were arraigned in a Nairobi court today.
Now, the suspects will tomorrow know whether they will be detained for 30 days as sought by the prosecution.
Now, the suspects, who included a law student and Diamond Bank branch manager, were paraded before Senior Principal Magistrate Martha Mutuku and will be remanded until tomorrow to allow their defense lawyers file affidavits responding to the DPP's application.
The prosecution said that Hassan Nur Ismail Sadiq, Abitam Ali Khamis Ali, Abdunur Ma'alim Osmail, that should be Ismail, Abdullah Muhammad Hassan, Sofian Joaquim Bogo and Isaac Omar Mohammed are being investigated on the role they played in the attack.
Now, the court had that Ismail had 52 M-Pesa accounts, 47 of which are operational and have been transacting huge sums of money, some of which were being wired to Somalia. Police need to investigate these M-Pesa accounts and their respective SIM card and the motive of opening of the accounts.
Of course, we are going to keep a keen eye on that developing story. I'm sure a team of our reporters are going to keep a keen eye on that story. Now, over to yet another big story, especially for this continent.